Okay, class, this is tutorial 1.2 for creating a database in your Access textbook. We are going to start looking at page 24 and 25. Basically what we're going to do is go through the copy and paste for records from another Access database, being able to create and navigate a query, a simple form, being able to create, preview, navigate, and print a simple report, use help and access, and learn how to compact, backup, and restore a database. So if you turn to page 26, we are going to use the Chatham database that we had used in the previous 1.1 tutorial. So if you can, it should either be in your recent or you can go to open other files to access that. So double click. Alright, we're going to select enable. And if you can remember from before, all we did was create a visit table. And these were the visit IDs that were that we had to input. Okay, so make sure you have all of those. Okay, so what we're going to do is if you look at the bottom of page 26, we're going to look at copying records from another Access database. Okay, so from here, what we want to do is we're going to select File. Again, this is your Backstage view. You want to select Open. And then what we want to do is we want to browse. So we're going to select Computer and then specifically browse to where we have the Cindy database. This file is actually located in Blackboard, so you can actually download it and save it to a specific location that you need, and then we're going to browse to it. So I have it saved here under my downloads, so we're going to select Cindy, select Open. Okay, we're going to select Enable. All right. So from here, we're going to actually open up, again, remember this is your navigation pane. We're going to double click and open up Appointment, which is a table. And in here, you can see from the bottom here, it indicates how many records. So we have a total of 76 records. Okay? So we're going to select the data sheet selector. So here in the top left corner is what's called the data sheet selector. From there, on your home ribbon, we're going to select Copy. All right, then we're going to close, and then it asks if you want, you copied a large amount of data onto your clipboard. So it's basically asking you if you want to save this data. We want to, so make sure you select yes. Okay? All right, from there, we're going to go ahead and just close this specific one, and we're going to go back to our Chatham database. Okay, so if we go back here, sorry, it's in another window, so I'm going to close this one. So we're going to open back up Chatham. From here, we're going to select our visit. And then here at the very bottom, okay, again, remember this is what indicates, the asterisk indicates a new record. You can see my arrow turn to an arrow that's pointing to the right. So we're going to select there. Right? And then what we're going to do here under the home ribbon is we're going to select paste. All right? So it's going to say you're about to paste 76 records. So if you remember from a previous part in our textbook, there are 76. We're going to select yes. Okay? Okay. So again, if you select the data sheet selector and put your mouse in between any of the columns and double click, it will give you the appropriate spacing. Okay. All right. So from that, you can now see that we have a total of 86. So we had 10 from the previous where we manually put those in when we created the visit table, and then we actually added the 76. So we now have a total of 86 records. At the bottom of page 29, basically it just goes into looking at navigating a data sheet, looking at our navigation buttons in figure 120. Basically what it's referring to is down here at the bottom left of your data sheet view. First record, of course, it indicates one of 86. Okay, you have your next, your last, and then if you want to go to a blank record. Okay, so in here at any point you could select a specific record and it would take you to that specific record. Okay. All right, so next what we want to do is we're going to click the first record, which is 1527. And this is just kind of going through the navigation. So if you select next, it kind of goes through that. If you select the last record, it will take you down to the very last record that is in your table. Okay? So that should be pretty straightforward. Again, going back to the first record. Okay? So what we're going to do, and if you remember from last time, if we close this, it's not going to, we're going to select save. So what it did was it actually put everything in order for us. Okay, so if you remember, you don't have to try to sort and put things in order. Whatever your primary ID, it will actually sort those for you based on your information. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close. Next, what we want to do is look at the bottom of 30, top of 31, is creating a simple query. And basically what a query is just asking a question. So based on the tables or the information that you have gathered, it's asking for specific information. So if you're looking for specific fields in that table, then it can bring that information out. So on page 31, what we want to do is to select the Create ribbon here at the very top, and then we're going to go under Queries, and then we're going to select the Query Wizard. From here, you can see you have a variety of options. We are going to look at the Simple Query Wizard. We're going to select OK. All right, so from this, if you select your drop-down arrow, currently at the moment, and you can look at your navigation pane, we only have one table, so that's the table that is listed. And then under Available Fields, it has all of the fields that are specifically available in the Visit table. So you can take those, so basically, which fields do you want in your query? So which of these fields out of this specific table would you like to have shown in your query? Your arrow buttons kind of work like they do for any other application you may use. If you select the double arrows to the right, it would move all of the fields over. If you select the double arrows to the left, then it's going to take them all back over, or you can do individual ones and move them back and forth as necessary. So at the top of page 32, what we're going to do is we're going to select the Visit ID, and we're going to move it over to the right. All right, we're going to select Visit Date. We're going to select Reason. Okay. So basically all we want is a Visit ID, Visit Date, and Reason. Okay. So from there we're going to select Next. Here's what we're going to name our table. So what we want to do in here is we're going to take out the query, and we're going to type in List. And again, make sure there are no spaces. Okay, so it should say Visit List, and then we're going to select Finish. Okay, again, select your data sheet selector, and then it will make everything the appropriate size for your columns. Again, all it is a subset. So a query basically looks at a table or other queries and pulls the information that you are specifically asking for. So from the visit table, all we did for the visit list was the visit ID, visit date, and reason. Okay. Again, you can specifically see here at the bottom, there are again still 86 records because we didn't change any of that. All we're doing is selecting the same information that's in the table. We just limited the specific fields that we were looking for. All right, so we're going to select the close. It's going to ask us as far as changing, and we're going to select yes. Now we're going to look at creating a simple form. So a form, you use a form to enter, edit, and view records in the database. So again, we're here on the Create ribbon. Okay. From here, we're going to select Form. All right, so basically what the form did was it took, and again, here you can see the number of records. It took the 86 records and put it into a form format. Okay, so we didn't tell it specifically anything to do. All we did was specifically tell it what we wanted, that we wanted a specific form. Okay, again, this has specific contextual tabs that are available once you create that. Okay, again, use your navigation to go through. You can go to the very end, or you can go to a new record and actually enter information. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is select Save here from our Quick Access toolbar. And so what we need to do is give our form a name. So for our name, we're going to type in Visit Data. Okay, then we're going to select OK. So you can see from here, and as you create different types of objects within Access, it lists them over to your left in the navigation pane, and they do have specific icons. Okay, so your data sheet view, you can see kind of looks like a spreadsheet. Queries just kind of looks like two separate spreadsheets, kind of indicating that you're pulling information from maybe multiple sources. And then your form, of course, looks like a form. So we're going to close that. Next, we're going to look at creating a simple report. And a report is a formatted printout or screen display of the contents of one or more tables or queries. Okay. Again, you're going to select your Create ribbon. Okay. Here under Reports, here in the center, we're going to select Report. Okay. And so from there, basically, all it does is, again, take the same information that you had. Okay. And post that information into a report. Okay, it has 86 records. It tells you this is page 1 of 1. One thing to note about creating a report, you want to make sure that your report, that the spacing is appropriate so it all fits. So these dotted lines kind of are like print preview. It kind of shows you where it would be cut off on the page. Okay, so you need to be aware of that and make any necessary changes. Okay, so what we're going to do here. We have the first record, which is 1663 selected. Okay, and then we're going to move our information, move our column over, so we have the appropriate spacing. So now you can see that everything fits over to the left of that dotted line. Again, you can kind of play with this. If you need to adjust some things, you select the specific column field and make necessary changes. Okay. So again, you would have to kind of play with it to adjust it. One other thing to keep in mind is at the bottom of your report, here, like you can see that your 86 really doesn't display the entire number, so you'd want to change that. And then for your page number, you can actually select it. So select it with your mouse, and then make sure you have the 4 arrows, and then move it over to your left, so it's within your printed page. Okay? All right, so from there, what we want to do is we're going to select here over to your left. We're going to select the drop-down arrow, and we're going to look at Print Preview. Okay, so if you kind of scroll down, it's going to tell you there's 1 of 3 pages. Okay, so this is page 1. You look at the formatting, make sure everything fits within the lines. Again, use your navigation pane at the bottom to kind of scroll through each document. Okay. So you can see that everything will fit and there's nothing off of your page. Okay. So we're going to close navigation or the print preview, excuse me, and then here on your quick access toolbar, we're going to select Save, and we're going to call this Visit Details. Again, no spaces. All right, so now we have a report. Your report is a green icon. Okay. As far as printing the report, we typically do not print in this class. It's an online class, and if you had me face-to-face, we would not print as well. So it is important to make sure you understand and know how to print, so you can kind of go through those. Next, it kind of just goes into viewing objects in the navigation pane. So we're going to close the last report that we created. Now, again, navigation pane. Here's your button here for the shutter bar to open and close to make additional space if you need. Okay, and then this arrow here, when you put your mouse over it, it tells you all access objects. Okay, and then it gives you a variety of ways to look at the information that you have. Okay, so depending on what you're specifically looking for, you could go in and change some of these settings. Okay, so for some reason you know that you've created something as far as a specific object, whether it be a report or a query, go in. By default, typically it's set to the object type and filter by group, and then make sure all access objects are selected, okay? Because if you wanted to and you only wanted tables, you could only show tables. So if you ever have an instance where you're missing something that you know you created, check here to make sure that all of those are displayed like they need to be. Okay, next, if we look on page 42, it basically just goes into talking about compacting and repairing a database. So basically, it's talking about the size of your database. So a database can be very large depending on the number of objects that you have, okay? And some of your tables can be very large, queries can be large. It just depends on the information. So as you create things or add and remove, because you can delete, edit, and do different things to your records. Basically, in the figure 130, it basically kind of shows where, you know, some of your data, it creates gaps in your storage. So by compacting, it kind of frees up some additional space so your database is not that large. Okay? So on page 43, what we're going to do is compact and repair our database. So sometimes there are also issues with your database. So if you compact and repair, it may correct those for you. Okay? So again, we're going to select File. This is our Backstage view again. Okay? And from here, what we want to do is we're going to select the compact and repair. Give me 1 second, sorry. Okay, so once you select your Backstage view, here over to your right in Information or Info, there's your compact and repair. Okay, so basically it says it helps prevent or correct database file problems. So we're going to select it, and it only takes a few seconds. Now, depending on the size of your database, it could take a little bit longer. You cannot have any of your objects open when you do the compact and repair, so make sure you have everything closed. You select File, you're in Backstage view, make sure you're selected on Info, and then select Compact and Repair. As far as backing up your database, as you can remember before what we said, when you create a specific table, when you go in to make changes, you're saving information to the table, not necessarily the database. So as you're adding records and different things, you're making changes to that, but not necessarily the database. You don't go in and click File, Save to Atom. So what you're doing is saving the individual objects, updating those as you create things. Okay, so as far as actually saving, again, in Backstage view, you're going to select Save As. Okay, from here, there is an option at the bottom that says Backup Database. You're going to select Save As. And what it typically does is give you a specific date. Okay, so this is important. That way, if you're going to make major changes to your database, that you have this information prior to making any large changes. That way you have a database to go back to so you don't have to start over from scratch. Okay? So once you select Save, it saves it based on that specific date. So it gives you that information so you can have however often you create a backup of it, but it's based on your date. Now you can change that, but that's typically the practice that most people follow. All right, I hope this was helpful. Thanks.